Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And now, my question of today is: are you in profits or in losses with your crypto holdings? If you're in profit, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're actually below the amount that you started with, also put it in the comment section down below because that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I'm assuming most of you have a little bit of a bag and you're holding XRP, and most likely you bought at some higher prices. The reason I assume that is because some data has shown us that most investors are in that situation. So here's an article on the Crypto website, and it reads: data shows most XRP investors are deeply in the red and why the worst may be yet to come. However, this video is kind of meant to ease you guys into why it is not a problem if you're in the red right now and why possibly you shouldn't have to worry about it at all. And if you guys enjoy the daily crypto videos, please support the channel by pressing the like button and subscribing as well. Liking helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and subbing, 63% of the people watching my videos are not subscribed, and by pressing that button, you're helping me out and putting a smile on my face. So yes, here, data shows that most are trading in the red, and it's actually something that's kind of XRP specific, which is something that I find kind of interesting. So looking at it, the world's fourth most valuable crypto, XRP, has been stuck in the doldrums for the past 2 years. I think it marks 858 days or so of bearish markets, and thus it's not that crazy, I personally find, if you are trading at a loss right now. While a majority of the other major currencies have been able to recoup a majority of their losses, the Ripple promoted token is still down more than 94% from its all-time high. As a result of this lackluster performance, a large portion of the XRP investors are currently not profiting from their XRP positions. Unfortunately, this situation could get even worse as a respected analyst expects the XRP token to take a heavy beating in the near future. This last part, take it with a grain of salt, that the situation could get worse. It is always possible, but that's so for every coin. And what he basically says, it's Peter Brandt, right? Honest, it's Peter Brandt. He's always bearish on XRP, so yeah, I'm not taking that one too harshly because it's Peter Brandt, as I just said. All right, looking a little bit above here though, XRP's aggregate cost basis suggests majority of XRP investors are unprofitable. While the most common measure of a crypto's market value is market cap, some observers argue that realized capitalization is a more accurate measure. According to Ryan Watkins, a research analyst at crypto market firm Masari, realized capitalization is basically an estimate of the aggregate cost basis of a crypto and is derived from the valuation of each unit of supply at the price it last moved on chain. Watkins notes that XRP's realized cap stands at $43 billion. This means that the average XRP investor purchased the crypto while it was priced at roughly estimated at $1.38. Simply put, a majority of XRP investors are now unprofitable at the current price of 19 cents, Watkins postulated. While not a lot of Bitcoin traded near Bitcoin's all-time high, the same can't be said for XRP. Despite XRP having only closed above $1 on just 2.1% of its trading days, XRP's aggregate estimated cost basis is 1.38, and this suggests most XRP investors are most likely deeply in the red. Could also be that some big billionaires are just really in the red with their money. That's also, I guess, a small explanation that would be possible. But in general, I would state that yes, a lot of people are trading in the red. And moving further, this article mostly just talks about why the price of XRP is most likely going to go down further. One cool thing is this start here, which we're going to read real quick. Another metric that provides a bird's eye view of the current state of XRP is the circulating supply inflation rate. Late last month, another analyst at Messari, Florent Mullin, revealed that the XRP has an inflation rate of 20%, which is the highest among other large crypto for the past 5 years. This annual rate is notably 5% higher than that of Bitcoin before the halving. Having said that, though, you might be kind of discouraged you're in losses, that's one thing, but you might be a little bit encouraged because, well, there's tons of people in the same situation as you are. Maybe that feels kind of nice. Well, one thing I gotta state, which is really kind of important, is that I believe really that 80% of the people watching this video are most likely trading at a loss right now. And a lot of people are really looking for XRP to go to the moon as a way out of their losses and to just really, really get rich. And even though I'm not trading at a loss for XRP, I definitely am waiting for a good above $1 moment as well. And I'm quite convinced it will happen. And that's why I always say I'm a long-term holder. I don't know if it's going to happen in 1 month, 1 year, 5 years, but I don't really mind at all. I'm not really hating the wait. I'm actually at quite a comfortable position. I mean, life goes on. It's only like the earlier the better because you're getting more gains. However, from my perspective here, I'm always buying more XRP whenever I, feel like it's a good time or I get another chance to do so. And thus, for me, also extending it is something that is quite nice. But that's all because, from the bigger perspective, I have the longer goal in mind. I have the long-term plan in mind all the time, and I'm always thinking of where the price is going to go. And one of the same things can be seen from my retirement plans, which I often like to show you guys, or at least I haven't shown you in a little bit, but I like to tout about this, I like to talk about it, because it shows, again, what we're here for and kind of a motivational type of speech to yourself. It is that you shouldn't worry too much about short-term fluctuations in price. You shouldn't worry too much about being in the red right now, because over a longer period of time, you're going to be good. And the same kind of applies for when you're buying stocks in a recession. You would preferably time the market right at the bottom. Because, of course, if we're in a recession and you want to make a big profit, it means you kind of got to bet against the market. And you kind of got to buy at a low point, almost knowing it's most likely going to go down a little bit further. The only, beautiful thing out of it all is that you know for a fact that it's going to be going up higher in the future. Let's take the S&P 500 for an example. I have bought the S&P 500 a lot of times, and I've been in the red, I believe, even more times on my recent buys. That is, not in general, but in recent buys. The reason for that is I buy, and really the same day or the day afterwards, the price goes down like crazy. And I'm like, oh, that hurts. But it doesn't, because even if it goes down for another 4 months, I don't give anything about that. I know the S&P is always going to recover. And with XRP, I have that feeling, and even though this is not financial advice, take it with a grain of salt, everything, because every person's situation is different. I have that feeling that in the end, it's going to be good. We're going to get a crazy ROI. And thus, I don't care if it's down low for a little bit right now. And now, the retirement plan here actually kind of describes all that you need to think about, describes a couple of things you need to think about when you're retiring. And one of those points is that if you want to retire with XRP, you got to have a price prediction for the future. You got to know the amount of XRP you'll hold. You got to know exactly how much you want to have in the future to be able to kind of determine your goals and kind of estimate and know where you're at right now. I would also say that most people don't know exactly what they want to receive from XRP. Do you want to, get $1 million out of it all? Do you just want to invest your side money? Do you have a strategy for how much you keep buying or what? If you don't have all those things, then I don't think you're really at your end point just quite yet. I believe the only way or the only reason you could be discouraged is if you have to wait for some gains or if your price prediction is just not higher than 20 cents for XRP, right? If that's your real estimate, then yeah, it's most likely kind of a depressing time. However, one thing to note as well is that even if XRP never goes above 20 cents again, you can still make yourself millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars with XRP. And I've told you guys about this before. The price itself doesn't matter to make profit. If you guys get what I mean, the direction doesn't really matter. It's about timing, and it's about, I guess, just knowing what to do. And sometimes it's betting. It just depends on what your strategy is. But even if it never goes above 20 cents again, if it does dip down to 1 cent, I'm buying myself a freaking ton. And if it then goes to 20 cents, hey, you just 20 times your money. And thinking from that perspective again, that any point where you're thinking, oh, it's not going to cross that, it will most likely at one point in the future go quite a lot lower. And if you think, oh, it's not going to cross that, but it might hit it, well, you can buy once it gets lower to maybe get those profits when it goes back up. Might be difficult to see exactly when to buy, but that's what I've told you guys about my layering strategy, where I just place buys at different spots the way down, right? Different spots, and I keep buying, because very often the price dips down a little bit and you can get yourself a nice little snatch. All right, but to, again, kind of conclude what this is about here, what I believe everybody should do right now if you're holding is get a couple of goals in place. Know what you want to kind of get out of this whole investment journey. Do you want to really become rich off of XRP? Do you just want to, get some more side money? Is this your main investment? And all those things, just write it down. And if you can, get exactly the amount of money that you would desire. Like Napoleon Hill says in his book, Think and Grow Rich, note down exactly what you desire. Exactly to the tip. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to get there. Why? Because if you, for example, want $1 million, if you're going to put $7 trillion in there, you can, but it's going to be a pretty difficult road for you, and it might, take you longer than a lifetime to get there. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's, a relatively difficult task. Same as, a lot of things would be. But you guys get me here. Just write something down that's at least doable in a lifetime for you. Once you noted that down, you're going to most likely work a lot harder to get there. For example, if you want $1 million in XRP and you only have, let's say, okay, I shouldn't say only, but you have $10,000 invested, which relatively is just 1% and thus not a lot, then you know there's some discrepancy here, or you're going to have to do something to get this initial number up. Because, if you have $10,000, you want to get to $1 million, well, the price is to go times 100, right? Because you have 1%, you want to get to 100%, it has to go times 100. And if you guys have looked at the XRP price before, well, I have, times 10 would mean $2, times 100 would mean $20 per XRP. Which is definitely possible, but it's pretty far away. And it could easily be dragged down to, for example, let's say, for example, $6.50 per XRP by getting another $20,000. You guys see where I'm coming from here? Just by changing these numbers a little bit and trying to invest a little bit more over the next maybe couple months. I know $20,000 might be a lot, but still, it's doable for quite a lot of people here that are really interested in maybe making $1 million in a short amount of time. Investing more at these earlier points here is going to drastically the amount of money that you're going to have at the end. Drastically. And that's also going to really change the dollar value that XRP needs to get to for you to be able to get that certain amount of money you want. And by the way, it's also not important, not trivial, but it's simpler. If you are kind of realistic with all of this, like for example, if you only have $10 a month to invest, you've only got $3 invested right now, and you want $70 billion. Got to be realistic with you here. If you're not ready to put in a lot of freaking work, it's going to be, I would say, nearly impossible to get there. But even if you're only earning $1,000 right now, and you want to earn yourself $1 million in, let's say, for example, 5 years, Trust me when I say it is possible. Nothing is off the tables here, nothing is off limits. As we saw here with the previous bull run, there were so many millionaires made. And I can't tell you whether this will happen again in another year or so. I can't tell you. Or if it will take another 3 years or a month. But I know it's going to be happening. And I'm sure as hell prepared for it. And I want to make sure that whatever goal you have in mind is not further than $5 per XRP. Preferably all-time high XRP, about 4 or 350. Because I just see that as really, really easily doable. And if your goal is already there, I think you really are living a happy holding life. Having said that, though, a lot of good has been going on for Ripple right now. Christopher Green says on Twitter, "I'm expecting an IPO for Ripple soon, and I wonder what will happen to XRP." That's just one thing you got to think about as well. None of us really know exactly what would happen if the IPO comes around, right? What would happen? Is it going to be heavy on the XP price? Is it going to be useless? I really don't know, and I'm really wondering about that. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. But it's something we don't hear a lot about anymore in the last couple of months. All right. The Cryptic Poet says, "I think the XRP floodgates are opening up." And that's a fun thing to talk about as well, because the last week, we've been hearing so much from Ripple. I mean, the BRICS talk, Brazil, India, like for example here, India, as I just said here, it's getting a lot of attention. Brazil, the last couple of days, a lot of attention. Now also Ripple's announcements are going like crazy, like a wildfire in the last couple of days as well. I don't know what they're doing, but they're putting in a lot of freaking work right now. Analysts say Bitcoin breakout imminent, silver-like suppression, $5 trillion in cash could flow into Bitcoin. Yeah, so close to $5 trillion in market money accounts could flow into Bitcoin. This was discussed here. Everyone has been watching the digital currency markets for a little bit. At press time, the entire market valuation of all 5K assets is just over $250 billion. Just recently, the co-founder of Gold Bullion International, Dan Tapiro, discussed a study published by the research firm Reventive Lipper, and according to the study, there's close to $5 trillion in money market accounts, otherwise known as liquid cash, which again could be put into here. Record almost $5 trillion sitting in cash, dashed to cash most surprisingly because it all yields near zero. Huge opportunity cost versus equity, gold, Bitcoin, such great negativity and fear not usually present at equity tops, wall of worry growing taller by the day. Okay, so to summarize this all, people are worrying more and more and more with their cash because there's no profit that they're making right now. And I mean, the whole situation of the dollar being devalued, that's not really positive for cash. And thus, a lot of people are looking at the alternative of Bitcoin, and a lot of money could be flowing into it. And then also, as I just showed you guys, JP Morgan predicts massive stock market rally, and this could be bullish for Bitcoin. So it's kind of built upon Dan Tapiro's ideas as well. But also another thing here is, if stocks were to do good, there's like I would say a 90% chance that Bitcoin is going to do good as well. The correlation right now is ridiculously positive, meaning that if stocks move, Bitcoin follows those moves as well. I don't know exactly when that will change, but I do think it's a pretty positive thing for right now. There's a lot of chances for Bitcoin to really benefit for both ways, because if stocks go up, Bitcoin goes up. But if stocks go down because of this recession, it might be due to a lot of money being pumped into the economy or something with interest rates. And it could be that Bitcoin does not follow that downward shift, but actually finally stands on its own two legs and gets that inverse correlation going on. That's all important though for the bigger picture here as well. It's not really those short-term prices we care about, but the bigger picture. And that's also what you got to think about as well. As I just said, think about the bigger picture. I'm happy holding This is not financial advice, but again, see it from the bigger picture and try to find the happiness in there. You're not alone if you're trading in the red right now, and don't worry too much about it. It will most likely be good, like with the S&P. But that's just my opinion. If you don't agree, you don't agree. And thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully you learned something new and enjoyed it. I'll see you guys again in another crypto video.